Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Ian's Adventures once again in the great outdoors. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. Enjoy the video. We've come up to Burbage, which is, let's have a look. I need to sort this out. Burbage. Wait a minute. I'm trying to work out if Burbage is in Sheffield or Derbyshire Peak. And it is in Derbyshire Peak. You can see there the boundary line, the yellow boundary line, and I can see Parson House Farm, the Fox House, and I can see the Sheffield boundary line there, the yellow one. But this means basically that Burbage Edge is in the dark peak of Derbyshire. Now you'll notice that I didn't have that. Put this down a second. I didn't have that like that, alright? Which would be wonderful to use, and I do see a lot of people up on the hills using them like this. Now, the problem with this is that the lanyard is made of nylon. Yeah? It doesn't really matter what it's made of, but nylon's specifically bad. Because if you're walking on the hills and it does get blustery on occasion, if the wind catches it, it will spin. And that will garrot. It goes right up here, and I've seen it happen. It garrots and you can't get it off. The nylon fuses in and you can't get your fingers in to get it off, and it could kill someone, and I'm quite sure in the past it possibly has. So what to do is to have the area of land facing upwards, put it through your arm, quite simply, like that. Put your hat back on, and then you can see everything you need to see on the map like that. And if you do need to look in more detail, all you got to do is take it off and put it down on the ground. And if you think that it's going to blow away, put your knee or something on the lanyard, even lasso your leg with it. Just don't put it around your neck. Right, so behind me, that little woodland there, you'll see it in a bit, but when it was planted, it was designed to look like England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. And right up on the top left there you can see Ireland. Down here in the bottom there's England, Wales and Scotland, alright? And that's in the bottom, but it's been decimated now. The reason being that it's sort of a pine forest, alright? It's thin-leaved trees. Now this area is really designed for wide-leaf trees because they dig into the ground. With these trees, dig outwards. They'll dig out, spread outwards. So what happens is the wind gets up, or if the ground gets very boggy and rots the roots, which it did in this case, or the wind gets up and just blows the trees over, alright? But the broadleaf trees, like oak trees and such like, they dig down into the ground so they can hold themselves better. Now what's happened here in this particular case, we're going slightly off here, is that the local habitat has adapted to that area. And we've got a lot of birds and insects and small mammals which are actually living in there, which rely on that kind of fir wood, alright? But they've actually cut it down. So a lot of people have been up in arms about this, about what they're doing. But what they're doing is they're now going to be replanting broadleaf so that the eco-structure is going to reset itself, alright? So that's what, so sometimes you'll probably see me walking up here or doing camps in this area, and I'll be utilising bits of wood and stuff like. I've been up there with Shane Winfro, we did a camp, and you can see all the broken down rotting trees, etc, etc. We're going over there anyway, so I'll show you that in more detail. So yeah, sometimes when things have been done in past, it has to be undone in order to be able to make it fit into this environment, alright guys? So that's a bit of back information for you about the location. Up there on your left, I think it's your left, your right, whatever, is Colwalk Hill. I've camped up on there. And then there's some other places. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the map. We're going to look at 4- and 6-figure grid references. All right. We're going to look at how to use a compass basically, and then we're going to go down into the bottom of the hill, down into that woodland, and we're going to look at how you can enter into a wood at night possibly. You know, when you get a bit disorientated and you walk into a wood, and because your 6-figure grid reference from when you ended was way back there. In the morning when you get up and you pack your campsite up, you're like, oh, where do I go? How do I get back to where I was? Because when I came in, I've sort of lost touch of what I'm doing. So by utilising a compass, this is an old military Israeli compass, all right, which gives you line of sight, as so, all right. By utilising that and a clicker and a notepad and pen, what we're going to be able to do, pen came off, what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to work out how to get into the wood, all right, by utilising the direction of travel in comparison with every second step, so that when we get to where we're going, we can actually do a back bearing on the way out, incorporating the amount of steps. So you build like a mini route, mini map in here. This is a waterproof pad and waterproof pen, so even if it's raining I can use this. Remember that, always a good point. So I can use that to get back out of a location. It's also good if you've got like a camp or something you want to keep secret. You can put the route on a piece of paper, utilising your line of direction and also the amount of steps. So if you want somebody else to come to your camp, you can give them that information and they can follow that route through. Does it make sense? So yeah, that's a good way of finding yourself way back to your six-figure grid reference, so you can continue back on your route that you were taking the day before, but you can also go into the wood. Because a lot of the time, and I'll show you on here, you see the wood? There's very little information inside the wood about what's actually happening in there, so it's difficult to work out where you're going and how to get out again. Right guys, let's get up here and we'll look at map and I'll show you how to do a 4 and 6 figure grid reference, first point of call. Right, okay ladies and gentlemen, here we are on top of the world. Right, brilliant place. If you're teaching people map work, it's always good to get to a good high position looking down over an area so you can do line of sight points of reference. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my map ready and we're going to set this map up with a compass so we can orientate the map to the ground. Cock on. Right guys, so this here is the view that we're going to be looking at, and just by total fluke, it just happens that from this point here, when I orientate the map looking straight over there, it's exactly at 360 north, alright? You can see it just there, yeah? And I'll look straight up there. Now what I've done is I've lined up this line here with the eastings. Now eastings go from west to east, alright? So they progress easterly, and then your northings progress northerly. They go up the map. So the ones which go that way are northings, the ones which go that way progress across to the right hand side are your eastings. Now what I've done is I've got that line on my compass bevel on there, and the bevel of the compass lined up to north, maxed it up, and it comes to exactly 360 north. It's ironic that my shed door in the magic shed at home actually is north, so I always know where north is when I'm in the shed. Now you can see there that sort of resembles the British Isles. You've got Wales, excuse me pen, it's easier. We've got, always use a pencil by the way, I'm using this because it's a waterproof pen. That would be Wales, that would be down south, that would be England, okay, and that would be Scotland. Scotland, England, sorry, that would be Wales. So you've got Wales, England, Scotland and Ireland. That is the idea behind it. But if you look down there, you can see all this bit in the middle here is missing. That's what I was talking about before, about it getting decimated and ripped down because of the rot, etc, etc. So be aware that the land lie can change, not so much the hills, it takes some doing to get rid of those hills, all right, but the rest of it, the trees and all that kind of stuff and fences may change over time. Now as I look up there I can see Higgertor, you can see Higgertor just there, and then just down here is Colwalk Hill. And if you see that, there you go, Colwalk. Now that's an ancient fort. Theoretically, they're not 100% sure what it is, but if I can just stand up here I can show you that is Colwalk Hill and that is Higgertor. Now between those is a drop in the land, and that's called dead ground. That is ground you can't see. The military used to call it dead ground. And there's a path here that runs all the way up the middle of the valley, so let's have a look for that. So we go on to here, you can see that this green line here is the path that runs all the way up here, and this here is Burbage Edge, and Burbage Edge is over there, and it continues all the way around, and down there is a quarry, and on one of my camps I camped just down there, all right? So you can see from this, let's look at it from above, you've got the woods in the middle with very little information about what's happening in the woods, as we spoke about before. There's a stream that runs all the way down through there, can you see that? A stream that runs down through it, and we've got these two major points of interest on the map. Now we've also got gradients, okay, and these are the little numbers there, like got 400, 434. Now the higher the number, the higher the land, and the closer together they are, the more severe the drop of the land is. All right, so obviously you're going to get, hopefully you're going to get streams, major streams in the bottom. You might get some little feeder streams coming down the sides. So I can see from this, with the higher numbers at the top, that's a boulder field just there, those little dots. I can see that here, because the numbers are higher at the top, on here and here, just here, not there, because that goes back down again. Always be aware of it when the numbers drop back down. I can see that this is a valley with a wood in the middle and a stream running all the way down of it. And I'm just there. And the 6-figure grid, or the 4-figure grid reference for that is 2680. So basically 26. Okay, so we go down the corridor and up the stairs. So it's 26, and then we're going to come in 26, we're going to go to there, so it works out at 266. All right, and this, you can't see this, it's on the other side, but these, all these other lines have them as well. And then you're going up the stairs, so it's 809. So that's where I am. The 6-figure grid reference for just there, all right, is 266809. And we're going to be doing 6-figure grid reference as we're going along. So remember, down the corridor, up the stairs, and remember your northings and your eastings. Right, eventually, when we get around here, we're going to look at the key. Now, the key shows you all the points of interest. We've already mentioned the boulder field. We've talked about the boundary lines from Sheffield to Derbyshire for Dart Peak. We've talked about the woods. We've talked about the streams. But it also goes on to explain bigger, bigger paths and roads and everything else which you're going to see on there. All right, guys? Right then. So there you go. We've orientated it. We've looked at the compass. All right. Let's have another look at the compass. If I want to use this and I want to walk in a direction, for example, if I want to walk up there, all right, if I want to walk up to that hill, what I would do is I'll put this little up here and drop that up like that. You see that? What I'd do is I would look through there, all right. It says, can't get it to focus. Go focusing. And what I need to do, let me just set this up. Diddly-dee, North Souther there. So just get this, bear with me, I'll come back to you. But what I've done is I've marked the bevel up with the magnetic north needle, and I'm going to look through there now, see if we can get to focus in. This is right hard. There we go. So I need to be looking down through there, from there to there, up to there, okay guys? And then looking through that, and it should, I just can't focus with this, it's not having any of it, but oh, I almost got it there, 340, all right, so we're looking at 3, I think, bear with me, yeah, it's 340, so that's 340 degrees northwest. People would say northwest, but because it's even closer within the quadrant, then that would take it to northwest. Now I don't have to worry about the magnetic variation. There you go, you've got it. So I don't have to worry about the magnetic variation. That's what I'm pointing at the moment, because in the Peak District National Park it's set at 0, but if there was a magnetic variation, all right, I would have to add, say, 4 degrees to that. If the magnetic or the declination was 4 degrees, I would actually add to that, 340, I'd add 4 degrees onto that, all right? So it'd be 344. So 344 degrees north-northwest. Don't want to overcomplicate things at the minute. So you can see your west there, and you've got your north over there. So it's north-northwest, all right, guys? And that would give me, so all I have to do then is follow line of sight. Now what I'd do, because I can see over there, I would pick that out as a reference. So I might have on my piece of paper, now once you get to grid reference 266809, what you need to do next is take a bearing of, all right, that, you take that bearing just there, yeah, 340, All right, let's get it back online again. At 340, and I want you to walk on that bearing because it might be open moorland. So then you'd walk on that bearing. But if you've got the opportunity, again, that line of sight, I'd line that up, stare through there. You see those 2 points there? Aim them at whatever I was aiming at, and then I'd be off. I'd walk towards that, and then once I get to that point, yeah, then I can take another bearing onto the next point of reference and do the same thing again. On the bottom there, you'll see this ring. That's not just there for looks. That is there. So you could put this on your finger and walk with it like that. All right. So we're getting to know this now. We've orientated the map to the lie of the land. We've started looking at some of the key points on the map. We've found out where we are. We've got a 4 and 6 figure grid reference. And what we're going to do now is we're going to walk round. Where can we go? I know where we'll go. We'll go over to there. All right, so I'm going to walk over to that point over there. Now, what I need to do from here is look at what that grid reference is. So I need, not grid reference, the bearing on that point. So I'll have to put the phone down a minute, I'm recording on, so that I can just get that, because it's awkward with using one hand. Okay, let's hope you can see this. Okay, guys, I'll just get that lined up. This is so difficult to line up. Bear with me. Right, you can see there that we've got north in place, and I can tell you that where we're going is 40 degrees northeast. All right, so that's 40 degrees northeast over in that direction to that point over there where we're going to be heading. And I know there's some form of path up there, so I'm going to write down. Bear with me, I'm all over here. So I'm going to be travelling, okay, 40 degrees north. Get my pen to work. Normally I'd use a pencil, but I thought I'd bring this to show you. Northeast. All right. Now normally we'd have something called a route card, and we're going to do route cards in more detail in future, and that would tell me how high I was going, how low I was going, because obviously if you're walking uphill it's going to be harder, and sometimes it can be difficult to walk downhill as well. So it tells you how many miles an hour you're going to be walking, for what distances. It gives you all the 6 figure grid references and all sorts of stuff, your emergency routes off the hill and stuff. We're going to do that video in the future, but we're going to go from this point here at 266 to 809, and then once we get there, in fact I can do it now, I can look. Well, we've orientated this map. All right, so I can see that the point of reference that I'm going to be aiming at is just there. I think it's just, yeah, just there. It's line of sight. Line of sight. This is the edge here. That's line of sight up to that point there. So we've got the, I'll work out, I know that's 81. So it's 81. Wait a minute, no, it's 26. No, it's not. It's 27. So you've got your 27 there, down your stair, and 27.2. Because we're going down the corridor, so it's 27.2, 27. It's awkward this holding a phone, bear with me. 2, all right. And on the other one, so it's 27.2, and I know that's 81, so it's 81.5. 81.5. None of this is revised, by the way. 81.5. So that's my next 6 figure grid reference at 40 degrees from this point on. So we're building a very, very basic route card as we go along, aren't we? Right, guys, let's walk over there. See you in a minute. Right, as I'm plodding across the top of Burbage Edge, let's just look at the declination, the magnetic variation. What's all that about? Well, you see, the world doesn't just spin on a perfect axis. It's not like it's got a lump of wood stuck through it and it just spins on it like a top. What happens is, I suppose it is like a bit like a top. You know, when you spin a top or something, it spins, but it doesn't spin perfectly symmetrical. What happens is it spins and it sort of goes off on a wobble. So it's the wobble that we're talking about. All that confusing magnetic variations, because you've got 3 kinds of north, you see. You've got your grid north, northerns and easterns that we talked about before, all right? Grid north goes from bottom to top, south to north. Right, but you've also got true north. That's the North Pole, all right? That's your true north, because it's the north of the earth. But then you've got your magnetic north, which is the wibbly wobbly bit as the earth goes off on a strange tangent, and this changes from year to year depending how much of a wibbly wobble it's actually gone on. So that's what we need to add and subtract, because if I'm walking from here to there and the wibbly wobble of the world, right, the declination or magnetic variation is at 4 degrees, and I set my map so that and my compass so it's just set to walk straight at it, what happens is your compass, magnetic part of your compass, the needle, gets pulled 4 degrees off. So I'm walking 4 degrees off where I should be. Now over a short distance, I don't know, mile, not going to be too much, is it? But when you're talking miles, you're talking miles off in the distance, then the angle is exaggerated greatly, and you don't want it to be exaggerated greatly. So you can find yourself walking, by the time you've got to where you're going, you can be a mile or two in some situations off what you were aiming at. So it's important to find out what the magnetic variation is in the part of the world where you are, because where we are in England at the moment, there's no magnetic variation. We're absolutely cock bob on. But when you go to South America, Madrid, Mexico, it's going to vary again. They're going to have quite a severe one, bless them. And Australia places, they're going to have quite a significant magnetic variation. So they're going to have to add that. All right, guys? I think it's something called grid to mag add, mag to grid get rid. Look that up. I'm not going to get into all that right now. It's going to go a little bit more complicated than what we need to be doing. But what I'm doing here is I'm not walking in a straight line straight to where I'm going, because that'd be silly. All I'm doing is I'm walking around the edge, and every now and again I'll pull my map round and just check that it all looks right. Now, the only time you're going to need to use your compass really to walking on it constantly is an open moorland, walking through woodlands where you have no point of reference, or in really bad fog or bad weather, because then you can't see where you're going. So you're reliant on that magnetic bearing in order to be able to get you to where you're going. Make sense? I know you lot out there have done some of this, some of you might not have. So I'm going to point everything out, alright? See you in a bit. Okay guys, so the point where we were before, zoom you in, is just, a minute, it's just there, little bottom bit there. And that was pointed over here to where these little cairns are. Alright, because I knew that there was a path. I'll just show you. Zoom you back in. There's a path that goes back over there towards Sheffield, and that is the direction we came from, and we are now at 40 degrees. But to go back there to do a back bearing, what I've done is I've orientated the map back to north. Alright, so we've put that line on there in line with the eastings on the map, orientated the map so everything's in place. So where I am now, let's have a look. So where I am now, just there, alright, that's where I am, and that's where I was, alright. So from there to there is from there to there. Now for me to do a back bearing, let me just set my compass up and I'll come back to you. Okay, as it stands from here, the compass is now set up, so you've got the north in place. You see that? The north's in place. So we're going to look through here, back at the place where we came from. I'll do that bit because the phone can't focus at two things at once. Now let's have a look. Come on phone, you can do it. 2 minutes. This is so hard to get this to focus on this. There we go. It's not easy. It should be 230 and there it is, but you can't quite see that. But it is at, I'll just move that out of the way. It's at 230 degrees. Alright, there you go. So I'm pointing from here back. So you've got your 40 degrees there and a back bearing to there from this point. It's not exact because I would have been over there. But up to there would be 230 degrees. Alright. And that's southwest. 230 degrees southwest would take me on a bearing back. The other point is that we've walked all the way around the top of there, so the distance would be greater from there, what it is there to here. So let's have a look at distance, shall we? Okay, so when we're talking about distance, obviously we need to know how far we're going. Now we went from there to there, and we didn't walk straight across, did we? We didn't walk straight over to here. All right, what we did is we walked around the edge. So the path there goes all the way around. If I was to walk in a straight line, it would be quicker, wouldn't it? But I've had to do this wibbly wobbly thing. So what we do is we'll look at the bottom of the map, and this is kilometres, and kilometres are broken down into metres. All right. So what we need to do is we need to write that down on a piece. This is the simplest way of doing it. You write it down on a piece of paper. So you've got your 1 kilometre. You can see it there. All right. If I turn this over, you can see that's been split down into, there you go, into metres. Yeah. So what you can do is you can break that down. Okay. So you got 100 metres. So these are 100 metres. So it's 1,000 metres for a kilometre. So that's every 100 metres. All right. So what you would do is you would start there, and then you would run this all the way around like that, not in a straight line, but you just go like a curly whirly thing and follow it around the edge. So that to there, look, you see I've made that little line. This is so awkward. From there to there, yeah, to there to there, and then I've made a little line, and then I'd follow that round the edge, and I would do that because I'd do this all the way up here, and I'd draw that all the way around until I got to that distance. Now, ironically, that is around that distance from there to there is about 700 meters to that distance, and to go around this edge now will take me up to a kilometre. So I know when I get round to that point just there to the ford, it's a stream, it's going to be about a kilometre. And you can do this in advance of your trip, so you can work out the distance you're going to be walking per hour, per day, per 10 minutes, whatever it is you want to. All right, so that's how you distance on a map. All right, guys. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to head from here, we're going to head back down into the valley. Now we could go up onto the top of these hills if we wanted to, but we don't have a massive amount of time, so we're going to head down into the bottom of the valley, and we're going to look at some points of reference up there on Colwalk Hill and such places, and we're going to take bearings of them. All right, and we'll do another 6-figure grid reference, because we've done these other ones, so we'll do another 6-figure grid references as to this stuff I've done before, to these other points of reference up on top of these hills. See you in a minute. Right, the one thing I didn't do then just at the end was to take a bearing down to the bottom of the hill. So what I've done is I've orientated the map, orientated my compass to north, and I'm just going to turn the bevel then, and I know that I'm now heading 260 degrees, all right, basically almost 260 degrees west, all right, down into the bottom to the edge of the small wood at the bottom. Something to take into consideration also when you're up here in the Peak District and other places, there's a lot of iron in the rock, and the iron through geomagnetic movement can actually cause electromagnetic energy to radiate from the rock. And what that does, it messes around with your compass, and in a lot of cases it causes your compass to actually spin. So understanding your map without your compass is really important as well, and having a good knowledge of the area and asking for local knowledge. So locals should be able to tell you that if you go to a particular place, like there's a place called Black Moss up on Derbyshire, if you go up there, the stones up there, they're going to cause your compass to spin. All right, guys? So I'm going to walk down this path. I can see the path. It goes down there into the bottom, and we're going on a 260 degree bearing. See you in a minute. Okay, I'm going to try and get some bits of information in here, the best that I can, without boring you senseless, but important stuff. Now, you'll see here, there's like a little gully that comes down. In winter, that is going to appear to be a stream. Be aware that what is on the map as seen as stream bed, in winter, it can get confusing because the floodwater coming off the tops of the hills can cause extra streams, if that makes sense, which are coming down to the valley, which if you're only working with your map, that can get a little bit confusing. Also, cairns. There's 2 cairns which are being built up on top of here. All right, there are old cairns which are marked on maps, but sometimes new ones pop up because as generations change, people build new cairns. All right, so you might come across a cairn and just don't take it for granted that it's the one which is shown on your map, because the old cairn or another cairn that you were looking at on your map maybe, I don't know, 100 metres ahead of you. Alright guys? One thing other is, when I'm doing this video now, I'm doing it straight off the top of my head. I've brought this gear with me and I'm just walking around Burbage and just doing a quick video about it. Now there's some points when I don't think I've got them wrong, but for example, when I was looking at the distancing, I thought kilometre, metres, 100 metres, trying to orientate off the top of my head straight down to the map. You know, I could have got that wrong. I could have said it was 10 metres or whatever. I didn't. Luckily, I got it down to 100 metres, and 10 of them is going to make 1,000 metres, which is a kilometre, etc., etc. So little things like that can sometimes be got wrong. So it's important to watch multiple videos about map work. You can get some. I'm sorry, but I find some of the map work. I did one before. Some of the map work sessions that people do inside on a table are a bit boring. I think it's always good to get out in the great outdoors and to do these map and compass sessions actually outdoors, so you can make reference to things which are around you, so people can apply that knowledge to the outdoors, if you get me. It's always difficult. Oops, Philip. It's always difficult to orientate indoor map work to outdoors, if you get me. That's why it's so important to do videos like this. So hopefully all the information in there is right. If there's anything wrong, please point it out below and I'll put it in description that I've messed up with that or this or whatever. But it's good to see so many people out today, quite a few people. Right, I'll get on with it, stop rambling at you. I'm trying not to bore you and I just tend to go on. Right guys, I've come to this point down sort of more or less in the bottom of the valley next to the decimated woodland. All that used to be woodland. And I just did this video and I was lining up, I've just orientated the map. Alright, and I've sorted out the compass and I was videoing, and a guy walked up here and stood straight in front of my camera and started talking at me. I'm like, I'm recording? Hello? Right, so, Igutal, there it is. So, if we pick up the compass, see if we can get it this time, alright, and orientate it to north, which I just have done, alright, there she goes, and we're going to look down through there and find out what the bearing is on Igutal. If we can do this. This is not easy in any stretch of the imagination, okay? And we're talking at, blimey, 300, okay, 3 northwest, 300 degrees northwest. Now on here, it's going to show 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, see that? What times it be 10? Because that's 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, otherwise it would be 36 degrees on a compass. We know it's not, it's 360. Alright, so there you go. So that's Igutal. From this point of reference is 300 degree. Alright, you can see it because it lines up there and that lines up there. And that lines up there. Now if I want to go to Colwalk Hill, what I have to do is I point this up at Colwalk Hill. There it is, ancient fort, theoretically. And I turn the bevel to get it in line with north. Right guys, then I'll look back down through here, line up the compass, okay, on Colwalk Hill, look down into there, this prison, and what we got? Let me just get, this is so difficult with this. So difficult. We got it 280 degrees, okay, southwest. So it's 280 degrees southwest. Just line that back up. There we go, up onto Colwalk Hill. All right, okay, so that's pointer. So if I go back up to our first point of reference, which is just up there on that hill, see that little jutty bit there? If I point it onto there, what I have to do now is I have to turn this round so it points to north. So from this point of reference up to there, point it, see, so you sight it up. All right guys, you're sighting straight up onto there, look, looking down, making sure I'm still in north. There we go. And we are talking, okay, 190, so we're just off north. So when I orientated my map up then, it was facing north. That was facing up there, so that was slightly up to your right now. All right, so get it back again. So it's not quite south, okay? There you go. 180 is south, all right? And it's 190, so it's just off south. So we've got that one. Now, if I was go up to, we're going to keep doing this until you get it in your head. If we look at the entrance at the top where everybody goes climbing, got to turn the bevel around. I'll let you have a look at the view while I get this round. It catches a little bit, this actually. So there you go. I'm pointing up. So what should this be in consideration to what we've just looked at? Let's have a look. That's 360. So if I turn it over there to where the entrance is, there you go. It should there be, if I can get it right, it should really be but no, it's 350. About 350 it should be up in that direction compensating. Alright guys, so yes, that is the woodland which was decimated due to it being the wrong type of trees. You see all the tree stumps? Ironically, silver birch has now got in. Silver birch is really naughty. If it's an open stretch of ground and it's got fertile land, silver birch will get in there somewhere. And they're the first type of trees which are not designed for this kind of environment at all. So they're rotted in the ground, and I remember walking through and all the trees are just falling down with the wind. Okay guys, so there you go. So we've looked from this point at those different points of reference. Alright. And what we're doing now is we're going to walk down to that hill. Now because this forest has gone, this woodland has gone, we're going to have to use our imagination a bit when we do this next bit, because it's where we do the second step thing. Alright guys, and we're going to be taking a bearing out and walking about in strange places. See you in a minute. Right guys, so now we're down at the edge. Well, this would have been where we are now, the edge of the wood, because it's an older map. The edge of the wood shown there would have been sort of where I am now. Alright, and the grid reference there is 26. Okay, so we've got the 26 just there. Alright, and the line is there, and we're going in to there, and it's 4, so it's 26 4. All right, and I know that line is 81 and it's 81.5, and I've written that down. That's me. So for example, I've just done a walk and it's night time and I'm tired and I need to camp in a wood, but I don't want to get lost in the wood because that wood's not showing me much detail inside. There's no paths marked in that wood or anything. So what I've done is putting down the grid reference of where I am now, which is the edge of the wood down there at that 4 corner, which is 26 4 815, and that would have been added in to my what is it, my list of information before I set off. All right, my route card. Right, so what I want to do is I want to walk myself in here. So I'm going to be walking in. Now this is north, so basically the wood heads directly north. All right, so I'm going to walk in a northerly direction. Okay, so the map's orientated, so we're going to walk in a northerly direction straight over there, and then once I've done it, as I'm doing it, every second step, so it's 1 2 1 2 1 2, like that all the way through, I'm going to click this so I can count how many steps I go into the wood. We've got to imagine there's a wood. There is no wood anymore. It's a ghostly wood if there is one, and that one's look a little bit sad for itself. So we're going to walk in a northerly direction out into them trees. Does that make sense? All right guys, see you in a minute. Okay, so we've got north, so I'm heading in that direction, but I need to be checking. This is going to be hard with the camera. All right, so I'm walking north, but every second step I've got to click, so I'm going to have to do that without the camera. Otherwise, unless I had a harness on or something to hold the camera, that's going to be almost next to impossible. So I'm going to be holding that, checking my direction of travel, all right, while every second step clicking on the clicker. All right, and I know it's marsh in there, so this could go pear-shaped pretty quick. So I'm going to be heading in that direction up to the edge of that line of trees, and once we get there, I'll come back to you. I'll just put the compass down a minute, I'll just show you what I mean with the clicker. So we're going to walk, all right? You can see that that's set at 0, yeah? Now as I walk, I go and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and we hit trouble straight away. So you can see all this in here. See, this is the problem when you I'm still working on my second one. And we're up to 8. And click. So that's what I'm going to be doing, as I'm going through this rough ground, walking in northerly direction. Right guys, straight up to that line of trees. Right guys, so I've got to this point. I've walked across that. Weren't good. It weren't pretty. I've got, and it's 58 second steps. You get frustrated if you did it for every step. So I do it for every step. I always do it onto my right foot, so I go left, right, first one, and then I continue. 58, can you see that? 58 steps, right? North. Now, I right next to that, so I've got that written down there, look. 58 steps in a northerly direction. Now, when I'm coming back, Now if that, so for example, that's 360, all right? That's 360 degrees, all right? Now when I'm walking back, yeah, I'd put 180 there. So I've got, yeah, south, 180. So if I'm doing a back bearing from north at 360, it's 180 degrees south, 58 steps. I know it's 58 steps, so just do 58 steps on a back bearing, and that's how it would work. So what we're going to do now, for example, this could go on for a while if it's a big wood, or if you're out an open moor. So what we're going to do is we're going to do another one now, and let's take another bearing. Hang on, let's have a look. So we've got to here. I know that from that grid reference at the corner of the wood, all right, it was north, 58 steps, 360 degree over to here. So what I want to do now is take another bearing up to a minute, that's continuing north. I don't want to go north again. Over there. All right, okay, so let's have a look at that. So what we got, that's 310 degrees northwest. All right, so what I'll do is I'll write 310 degrees northwest. No, it's northeast. 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 Let me just rub that out. You don't want to get them mixed up. Wait a minute. This is good fun. So we've got northeast, yeah, 310 degrees. All right. Now, how many steps? I don't know. All right. We're going to go and do it. Off we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my compass, ready, at 310 degrees. All right. Line that up with the north, and off we plod. I'll put it away so we can go for a little wander with me, because this is a beautiful place. I'll just take camera around. I've set the timer back to 0 because I don't want to continue from that, because it's 58 steps to here. All right, so what I want to do is click and click, and so you'll hear that clicking as I'm walking. Right, I'm going to walk over to this far side. Now I know on the other end of the fence over here is a little clearing, and it's a cracking place for a campsite. Not for many people. If you just want to come bivvying, oh, it's a bit quaggy here. It's a hell of a place for midges. So if you're coming here in summer, bring a bug net. It ain't good. But this time of year, cracking. So it's 310 degree northeast. It is northwest, isn't it? It's northwest. Alright guys, ignore me. Totally lost plot. Northwest. Oh dear, a fence. Whoopsie daisy. Right, so we've come up across this little place. Oh, let's go try and find out this place. So here we are, and we've walked 33 second steps northwest. Alright, it is northwest, I think. I've lost plot. So northwest, I'll have to change that on my paper. Okay, so I know where I am. I can see where I am. Put this piece of wood here, look. Oh dear, everything's rotten here. Put that bit of wood there so I know where I were. Alright, so let's walk up here and see if there's a little campsite up here. Somebody's built. How we're going to use it, we're too many midges. I should remember north and east, because your eastings on your map move easterly, don't they? It is northwest. Right. This is what happens when you do stuff like this off the top of your head. Decide at last minute to come out and do a video. Okay, it's been bashed about a bit, but I turned up here. On the camp I did 10 mile and a steak dinner. I stopped in here, but there were too many midges. And it's a bit bedraddled now, but you can see that it's continued and the fire's still there. This time of year, when you're up there somewhere, it'd be ideal to stick a bivvy bag, as long as you're not going to bother anybody. And you're not going to get that many midges this time of year. What a lovely place. It is indeed. It's a shame. You can see what I mean about it being rotten. Look at this. The entire place is just falling to bits. And it was like this for years. And that big wood that shows you on that map, look, had to be chopped down, decimated. And the entire wildlife and birds and everything that came here, the mammals and everything, have obviously had to move on. Which is sad. But when the new trees are put in, the broadleaf trees, then it'll be a much better situation. Okay guys, it's a tinder nightmare here in what is it, in summer, because all this wood is crack dry and it could just go up in flames at any point. Right, I'm just going to go and rip my nads off on this barbed wire and get into that little area there. We're going to walk down and then we'll explain things. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I hope you understand that, in that when you get to the edge of the wood, you get the 6-figure grid reference as we did, and then as you walk into the wood, you mark down your bearing that you're walking on until you come to a point where you want to change direction, mark off the amount of steps to that point, and then get your new bearing, write that down as well so you don't get lost, all right? Walk on that bearing, write that amount of steps till you get to the end of that little trip, and do that till you get to a place like this where you can camp. Then the following morning, you've got the distance marked down in second steps anyway on your little clicker. All right, all you've got to do is a back bearing, the alternate bearing. For example, 360 would be 180, wouldn't it? Simple. But you can work that out. Also remember your magnetic variation. So add it on the way there, remove it on the way back. Obviously, because you're going the other direction. You don't want to leave that on, that gets messy. Right, something else I wanted to show you is this. This is the key on the map. And this gives you all the information that you need about different kinds of paths, what they show up as, and all the other bits and bobs. Let's have a look what else we've got on here. Hang on. Sorry about that. Right, the key is there. That shows you all the different roads. General information, land access, all this business here about train stations, where you should go, where you shouldn't go, boundary lines, what's different boundary lines there are, about different land underfoot, whether it's quagmire, if it's moors, all that kind of stuff. Also rock natural features, there you go, you got that there, you got your contour lines, etc, etc, and all this will be shown on your map. Even there, the north points, look, it talks about grid north, true north and magnetic north, and it all gives an explanation of what they are. Okay, people, so tourist and leisure signs, that's all down normally the left hand side, some of it on the bottom, but this is an Ordnance Survey map. Also, it's good to take on board what map it is. This is an Explorer OL1 Peak District Park. It's 1 to 25,000 scale. So when somebody writes up a map and information about a map that they've used, ensure you've got to use the same map, because sometimes the distances and the size of the map can be different also. All right, guys, go out and try and make your own maps. That's another great idea. Yeah, a good idea. That map's going to blow away now. It's going to just go off asunder. Another good idea is to do it yourself, go with your friends, take your kids, whatever it is. Find a local area and create your own map. Try and get the dimensions right. Put your northings and eastings in and number them down the side and up, so you've got your northings and eastings, and then grid it, and then get your kids to find things within that area. Does that make sense? It'll be like what we've done today, but then they're going to gain something from it. Does that make sense? Always remember to do your map up properly. By the way, it's a nightmare when people don't fold the maps properly, especially if you're an instructor and you're trying to put maps away at the end of the day, and somebody's just clunked it together and it looks a right mess. So there you go. Map nice and tidy. Right, and also do what we've done with woods. Use that system, the stepping system, and use your compass. Go out and learn to use a compass, and then when you get to the other end, do a reverse bearing, a back bearing, and the stepping, and see if you end up at the same locations on the way out. Does that make sense? All right, guys, well, thank you very much for watching. It's been a bit bonkers, I know. And it's a bit, I mean, I got that northwest, northeast thing over there a little bit confused in my head, but we got round it, and there's another wood up there I could have used, but the river stream that runs down the middle of the valley that we mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video has washed all the bank away, so the only way I could have got up, I'd have been covered in mud. It's a proper quagmire down there. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's important that people share these videos so other people get the information. And I do try to make them fun, because a lot of the time this stuff can be a bit boring if people are teaching it in a boring fashion. And I do try to get all the information over in a correct manner. All right, guys, so we've looked at 4 and 6 figure grid references, orientating your map, to north, so you've basically got the lay of the land correct in conjunction with your map. We've looked at walking on a bearing, going from one point to another. We've looked at how to find a bearing on a compass. We've talked about the magnetic variation, the declination, in conjunction with the three norths: true north, magnetic north, and grid north. The grid north being the grids on your map, the little squares, northings and eastings. True north being North Pole, and magnetic north being the wiggly woggly movement of the earth. All right, guys, which is going to be different around the world. We've also gone down to this little woodland which used to be there, which has now been chopped down, which I've explained, and we've looked at how to use the ticker pacing tool in order to be able to get us distance, and then use the compass in conjunction with that to find direction, to create a little inner map in some of those places which aren't clear on this map. So you're covering your back for when you've been camping or travelling through a certain location, to make sure you get back there safely and you don't go getting lost. Well, you all look after yourselves out there in the great outdoors. There's lots of adventures to come. This is me, Ian Lawrence, for Ian's Adventures here on YouTube. Please remember to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now. Bye. Right, guys, just before you disappear totally, a little PS, postscript on the end of this. At some point we're going to be looking at how to do a full route card, and that is looking at your distance, your direction, your line of sight, etc. Also, we're going to be looking at, so it's all the information about people in your group, your address, your details and everything else. You'd leave one of these at home as well as taking one with you. We're going to look, so it basically looks like this. We're going to go into detail with that. Also, we're going to Naismith's Law, which basically stipulates the amount of distance you can walk on the flat on a hill, walking downhill, walking uphill, walking over different kinds, there it is, walking through different kinds of land, whether it's moorland or whether it's bog or whether it's woodlands or whatever it is. So we're going to put all that in place, and it's basically what it does. It shows you your grid references, what direction you're moving in, the distance you're going in, the ascent, the descent, the time it takes, the pacing, how long it's going to take you can get from A to B, the time it's taking you to get from one point to the next, your rough, well, or hopefully your pretty close time of arrival, and notes from one point to the next. All right, so it's all that we can be looking at on a future video. Okay guys, and that is a route card, and we're going to do that in detail. I've done this before, but this time we're going to go out and do it and have some fun with it, guys. All right.